Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pixelists, the podcast about all the nerdy things we love and enjoy. As always, we're your hosts. I'm Will, that's Blake, and it's good to have you back, man. For those of you that weren't with us last week, we had Jeremy filling in, which we love Jeremy, but it's always good to have the flesh and blood.
Do we though? Do we love Jeremy?
I think most of us do.
Jeremy's just not very likable. You know, we all just have those people in our lives. We're just like, no one really likes you. You know.
And if you don't, does that mean like you are that person of the group? It's a little fun food for thought for your Fridays out there.
That's a real gut check right there. So,
but no, it's good to have you back. That's all I was gonna say.
No. Oh yeah, and if you guys who follow us long term, I couldn't be on last week just because we do this for free. You know, it's just like a hobby for us. We love D&D, we love Critical Role, and
love the game.
Every now and then there comes a week where it's like, we have no money and I have to work, and Will knows that life too. So I just couldn't make the time for the recording last week, and that happens every now and then. So sorry for that.
No worries.
Tell me about your shirt game today.
Oh, shirt game. This is from Iceland, which I recently went. This is the ramen place that I think I sent you a picture of.
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool shirt. So I'm going to keep this brief, but I've been to Iceland twice now. And the first time I went to this ramen place and I really wanted the shirt and they didn't have my size. And I was like, opportunity missed forever. And then as fate would have it, went back to Iceland for a wedding and was able to get the shirt this time. So
was the ramen pretty good?
Okay. All right. It's the best ramen I've ever had, but I haven't had like that much ramen, you know, besides like the college ramen, which obviously is,
it doesn't count.
Right. It doesn't count. So I've had like 3 or 4 nice ramen restaurants in my life, and this was definitely the top of them.
Have you been to Co-op Ramen?
I've been to one place around here, and I don't know if it's that one or not.
Up off 8th Street in Bentonville.
You know, I'm not good with directions. So
yeah, that's true.
that doesn't help me.
I was gonna say that's my favorite ramen place, and it has really good ramen. So
I think if that's the only place in Bentonville, then I think I've been there. Yeah. But if there's more than one, then I maybe went to a different one.
All right. Well, we got some announcements to go through today for you guys who are tuning in.
We do.
We started our Calamity rewatch party. We had so many people jump in the Discord, by the way. I know Will was chatting with some people. I was talking to people who were like kind of sort of vague D&D fans. Who maybe hadn't seen it yet, or they'd seen like an episode. We had a lot of people join. We had a lot of people who joined us for the watch party, but if you didn't catch it, we've been rewatching Calamity. It's the 4-episode mini-series, one-shot, whatever.
Yeah.
That aired last summer, a year ago, last summer. We watched the first episode this last Sunday. We're watching the second episode this Sunday. So if you haven't seen it or you loved it and you want to see it again, everybody's welcome. And that's also, by the way, a plug for our Discord. We have a Discord where we chat about the latest episode for Critical Role. We did a watch party last night for Candela Obscura. If you want to, this is the case for me. I don't know if it's the case for you, Will, but I really love D&D and Critical Role. I don't know a lot of people like in my social circle who also enjoys those things. So for me, it's been really fun having the Discord just to have people to hang out with while we're watching it. So that's the loose plug to jump into the Discord and give it a shot.
Yeah, 100%. And like Blake said, episode 2 of Calamity Rewatch will be this Sunday. So if you missed it last week, just make sure you watch episode 1, or don't if you've already seen it and you don't care that much. But come join us for episode 2. And on the watch party front, as you guys may or may not have seen, Dropout just had its 5-year anniversary. They had a bunch of big announcements, including one of their next Dimension 20 campaigns is going to be Fantasy High Junior Year. Now, I'm going to save you the long spiel that Blake and I always give about, not having seen too many Dimension 20s, but we've been wanting to. We got our feet wet with Ravening War. I don't want to speak for Blake, but I really want to try to watch Fantasy High, the previous seasons before Junior Year comes out in January of next year. So this is going to be a less structured thing, but we're going to try to host watch parties for all of those episodes in Discord leading up to that. But that is a pretty colossal undertaking because I think it's 40 plus episodes. all that to say, if you want to join and you want to get, the alert whenever we're doing that, join the Discord. There is a channel dedicated to the Fantasy High watch party. You can't miss it. And just go react to the message, the pinned message in that channel. That way we can give you the Fantasy High Discord role, and that way you'll be in the loop for all the information regarding that. But yeah, I'm excited because, we've both been wanting to check out some of these more storied D20 campaigns for a while, and this was the first, if I'm correct.
Well, continuing the trend of talking about Britton Lee Mulligan projects, we also did just finish the first arc for Worlds Beyond Number. It's the audio only D&D adventure coming from Britton Lee Mulligan, Erica Ishii, Abria Iyengar, and Lou Wilson. And it is amazing. It's 14 episodes deep. We also have a channel. I feel like we're talking so much about the Discord. We do have a channel for that in the Discord. But again, podcasting is such a common form of like consumption in media today. If you haven't checked it out, check out Worlds Beyond Number. I say this because Arc 2, or you can think of it as like kind of like Season 2, is starting in just a few weeks. So again, jump into the Discord and we'll chat about it. We're really excited about that. A lot of D&D content to talk about today. Goodness.
Yeah. And we're not done yet. So for those of you that are in the Discord, not to plug it again, but I gave a little teaser image, which, like, I don't know if you saw this or not, but I sent them the picture of you and I in the coffee shop the other day.
Oh, yes.
And I said that we had gotten our first little piece of swag sent to the channel. So we're going to tell you more about that now, for those of you guys that were wondering. We actually got reached out to, I guess that's kind of a weird way to say it, but we were reached out to by my man Neil from Paladin Roleplaying. And he said he was a subscriber, he loved our stuff, and that he owns and runs a dice company. And I think they sell a few other like D&D, peripherals as well. But he offered like, hey, I would love to send you some dice. No obligation, but if you like them, awesome. And bada boom, bada bing. And I was like, awesome. Thank you so much. So Neil, thank you. He sent us some dice. And again, this is not a sponsorship, not a brand deal. We are under no obligation to say any of this. But Blake and I did want to say that we love the dice. I'm going to, in post-production magic, we'll be throwing up some nicer photos of the dice. But I do have mine here in front of me as well.
Camera. Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Ooh.
You can see my fingernails too. So there you go.
Yeah, my green screen's messing with mine. But
it's I like it because it's again, this is not a sponsored thing. This is just me genuinely talking. But I like the dice because it's a really cool, like, what I look for in a dice is like feel. They're very light, have a very cool color to it as well, which is really important for me too. And also it's important that I can actually like legibly read the numbers on it. I feel like it's such like a critical meme of like, what is that number again? So anyway, fun fact, I didn't know this was a thing. Will and I were deciding who was going to each take the dice. So Will graciously gifted me the like D&D dice set, and then for Will, he took the other one, and we were like, wait a second, they're all D10s. Was this a mistake? And then we found out that there are games that play entirely on D10s, and so this was like a D10 dice set. Which was a fun little detail, I guess.
Yeah, so mine are D10. They're actually called the Claws of Darkness, and you can't really see here, but hopefully in the nicer picture I'm going to throw up, you'll be able to tell. They're really pretty, lightweight, roll well. I mean, I don't even know how I would quantify that, but it felt good rolling them. And these are affordable as well. I'm going to throw a pinned comment and maybe throw the link in the description as well to this website. Again, Paladin Roleplaying, but super affordable. So these aren't, the $50 designer dice made from dinosaur bone. These are the dice that, you can grab a whole bunch of and, have a Laura Bailey loot hoard style thing going on.
You've seen Lou Wilson's rant on you don't need all those.
He has like one dice.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic rant.
So anyway, but
yeah. But yeah, so again, Neil, the people at Paladin Roleplaying, thank you so much for like thinking of us. You were our first, so we'll always remember you. But we appreciate the free dice.
He gets like arrested for murder. We're like, we don't. He did not, by the way. I was
Oh,
just joking, but we're like, we do not support Paladin. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, the dice are really great, and it was very generous for you to send it to us. So thank you for doing that.
yes, thank you so much. And again, y'all, this wasn't a brand deal. This wasn't a sponsorship. So, no, this isn't an official go buy their dice or anything. But, if you want to support a smaller, I don't know if indie is the right word or not, but a smaller creator, somebody in this space. Yeah, definitely check them out.
Yeah. So, okay. We've gotten into a lot of details.
We have.
You think we're ready to talk about CR?
I think so, my friend.
Okay. Cool. Well, for those of you guys who, sorry, I kind of threw myself off for a second there. So every time we talk about a Critical Role episode, we like to do a little recap at the start of it, just because some of these episodes can be 4, even 5 hours long. So we try to do a recap that's about 15 minutes long that covers all the details, and then we clip that out as just a separate video for your viewing pleasure, so you can catch up on what happened. So we don't cover everything, but really the high notes for it. And this episode was episode 73, Kindling of Spirits. Will, I think your first half.
I thought you were first half.
Oh, no. I went back and checked, and I was first half last video.
But then I had the solo video.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you did the whole thing,
right? But I still thought we would switch back and forth.
How could we switch back when I wasn't there?
Well, the cycle continues.
Oh, even if I'm not.
I mean, right? I don't know.
I prepped second half, and you also prepped second half.
That is correct.
Maybe we could do the first half together.
Okay.
Then
let me
so let's see here. Let me get my notes up then for it real quick.
Same. Let me refresh myself.
This is like the first time we've ever done this, and usually it's my fault, so I'll just take the blame for it again.
No, we should have double checked with each other.
Yeah. So we know. So in the last episode, they used the compass to summon the Crimson
Abyss
ship, the Crimson Abyss, the ghost pirates, essentially. And then they got onto the ship and asked them to be taken to Kalutha, the island where the Yvonne Trevere.
Yes.
Is the name of it?
Yep.
The Tree of Atrophy. Let's see.
So, and yeah, apologies, y'all. But so just cut in if I'm missing anything. But I'm starting to refresh myself now. So this is probably going to be like a less thorough recap for the first half. Right. But now I'm remembering. So that they get on the ship, they have like a few days travel that they're going through, right. And the gang decides to get tattoos first and foremost. So there's and they ultimately land on, I think, a bell that is in flames, like Bell's Hells. The joke being that it was kind of like the Taco Bell logo. So they're doing that, and kind of this side story that's happening all throughout the first half is this this kind of flirty romance Fern is establishing with the captain, to the point where like she tries to break into his room, but can't. And then I think he like notices and he's like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Oh, I was looking for a place to sleep." And so she's like, "Can I come sleep here later tonight?" And I think she rolls really well on the persuasion check. So it's like, yeah, like that's a thing that's going to happen now. But Cerelia, the first mate, gets like extremely jealous and basically tells her to like stay away.
Yeah, back off.
Lo and behold, though, that doesn't happen. And Fern does enter the captain's quarters later that night. And they kind of spoon and flirt a little bit. And he asks for her warmth.
Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. It's kind of this funny like awkwardness of like he doesn't need to sleep.
Right.
But she's like, "So do I just go to sleep right here?" And he's like, "Yeah, go ahead." And it's kind of like, do I want to just sleep in front of you? But and then I didn't mean to interrupt you, but he asks a very, very cool, there's a very cool moment where he asks for something, which I didn't mean to cut you off. So
oh no, you're fine. And yeah, again, she was just trying to get in there to basically steal from him and look around. So when she went in there to sleep and he came with her and he's like, "Yeah, I don't sleep." He's just like staring at her. She's like, "Oh." But yeah, he actually asks for some of her warmth. And
Yeah.
Matt asks Ashley, like, do you willingly give it, essentially? And she ultimately decides that yes, she does give it. And we are told that she loses, and I don't have the number in front of me, but I want to say 4-ish health points. Just they're gone. Like they're
Hmm.
not like she can heal up, but like reduction from her maximum HP.
Yeah, we find out in the second half that it's a permanent reduction, so not something that she can, excuse me, long rest out of, but
Yeah.
that they're gone.
And we also
So
are told that um again, this is in the first half. So Matt says, during the break, I'll tell you what else this like did. So there's another aspect of this that happened because she gave over her warmth, but we are not told what it is.
mhm.
So that happens. The captain's kind of excited about this. Like I think Matt describes like his flames becoming like more vibrant.
Yeah, it's very what's the movie Hercules? The guy who plays
Oh,
Hades.
Hades. Yeah, yeah.
It's very the Disney movie. It's very that esque of Matt
Yeah.
continuing like to call on like these flames coming up or subsiding. And I think actually the after she gives the warmth and like maybe takes a rest or something, Matt asks again, like basically like a drug addict, you got any more of that warmth for me?
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
like, maybe I shouldn't do it again. I did want her to go full chaos though and be like, okay. So
So that all happens. Like I said, the gang is getting tattoos. But again, when Fern exits the captain's room after this whole warmth exchange, again, Cerelia is on
mhm.
it and she's very upset. And Fern kind of turns this around and is basically like, because clearly
Matchmaker.
Cerelia like has feelings for the captain. So Fern encourages her to like pursue it. She's like, go for it,
Yeah.
and she has some high persuasion rolls once again. Now I don't remember if does the conclusion of all this in the second half, or is it all in the first half? I guess it doesn't matter
It's in the
because
first half. It's
okay.
in the first half. So she does encourage Cerelia to go basically go get you some, and we have like this. I think Travis joked about it being like a Titanic moment where Jack and Kate like steal away, and you see like the
Yes.
handprint on the window because basically Cerelia goes into the captain's room and like this steam begins pouring out like from under the
Yes.
doors, and even like the crew starts to like come down and be like, what's going on? There's like some jokes around the captain getting pegged and like all this other information, but and then I think they eventually emerge with the captain limping, and Cerelia, like her ragey fire has like subsided into
Yeah.
like a cooler one, I guess.
Yep.
Um,
And I think that takes
so
us into the second half. So I don't know if there's.
yeah, there's
Go
one
ahead.
other detail too. They did scry at the start of the episode. They scried on
That's
Bo
right.
and Caleb because they wanted to figure out what was going on with them,
That's
and
right.
it doesn't work. And so they think maybe like if they're still captive or like for some reason they can't do it. And then F.C.G. scries on D again, sees D like pulling a cart, but again, it's like they assume somewhere in the Menagerie Coast, but they don't. It's like we still don't really know where it is or exactly where we could find them. So those two details happen as well. So coming back from the break,
Do you
actually, I
want
think
to split this, or how do you want
I
to do
can just
it?
take this. I can just take this, or you
Okay.
can pepper into if you want.
Yeah. If
Which actually,
I'll throw in if I
maybe,
notice something.
maybe this was after the break. I can't remember, but um, with them, Cerelia and the captain hooking up. But anyway, the party it's basically getting to the end of the journey, and the party is like, we want to do something that shows the group we appreciate them. So Travis does. He carves out a name tag for Kyle, who was like the redheaded stepchild of the crew. That says, I'm Kyle or I'm effing Kyle. And they're like, oh, maybe we should put like a comma in there somewhere. um, anyway, that wouldn't make sense. There's some joke about it, but anyway, they're like, we should do something that shows them we appreciate them. Let's do like a big dance party. And so they have the crew all go downstairs and they put up like a bunch of banners and like thematic party stuff. And then I think Fern plays her pan flute, and then F.C.G. does something like music wise where F.C.G. takes the same concept of what Frida would do of like record people's voices and play them back.
Yeah.
Basically does something like that for music too.
Like DJing.
Yeah, right. The crew comes back upstairs. They're like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing! There's a big party," and then the captain brings everyone together and like basically like doesn't necessarily pull his sword out, but kind of like threatens jokingly, like, you know, after today, never tell anyone about this party and tell everyone you were terrified of us. And the party's like, yeah, of course, we will. And then he's like, you know, do you mind if we keep like the banners and the decorations? And they're like, sure, why not? You know, so anyway, then they're like, all right, well, we're here, and the ship doesn't dock. They just have to jump off into the water and like swim to shore, and they find themselves on the island of Kalutha, and they are on the beach. There's this massive cliff face in front of them. There's a cave right in front of them, and there's a cave much higher. Marisha is going to send Pate into the cave higher, and down in the cave, there's like a forking path, and Pate goes left, and it opens up into like this big jungle on the other side. I think Ashton goes into the cave at the bottom, and it's just like an empty cave, basically. But Ashton does have this moment of, he says in Primordial something like, I'm here, like I've been looking for you.
Yeah.
And then Ashton explains that even though he knows he's never been there before, there's like this compelling sense of like resonance, like belonging here. It's like, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
They decide to climb up to go to the cave that's like 40 feet up. And Chetney wants, back at that where that path forked, Chetney wants to go to the right because there's this very strong smell of citrus. And so goes into this right tunnel and begins to hear movement, cast invisibility, and this large worm-like creature with, I think it had like two heads with like, one worm with like two separate heads or something. Yep. And no eyes, but like big mandibles emerges, and combat basically begins. And so typically for combat, we just stick to the high notes. Chetney's by himself. The party basically has to dash to get there in time. And they have this battle with this worm.
Sorry not to cut you off. I remembered that Chetney sounded the silent alarm to get their attention. That was funny.
That's right. That's a great little detail there. Let's see. I can't remember exactly everything that happens. The worm does do this thing where it like extends like its stomach or something and like casts like a poison spray.
It's basically like a dragon's breath weapon, but really gross.
And it hits pretty hard. The whole acid theme is pretty cool. In fact, I think Chetney actually hits the worm twice, but as he successfully hits, he actually takes poison damage himself.
From the blood.
Yeah.
Like the blood splatters and it's poisonous.
Right. The poison spray, I think, hits F.C.G for like 30 or 40 hit points.
Yeah.
And F.C.G.'s immediately like, this may not be a good idea. And actually uses the staff of, I can't think of the full name of the staff, of Dark Passage, maybe.
It's got, Dark something. I don't remember either.
I think it gives Misty Step, though.
Yeah. That's one of the things it can do.
They used it for Misty Step. Combat continues. Either they... they can't see in this cave, and so Fern casts daylight. It lights up the cave, but also it doesn't affect the creature because it doesn't have eyes. And I think they also notice like tons of larvae and like sacs like on the ceiling or something. And I think some of them like began to sprout or something like that. But
the creature has layer actions, and one of the layer actions is these like pods fall from the ceiling and like explode for some damage.
Yeah, that's right. Honestly, they pretty much kicked its rear. Ashton had a cool move where I think he did like his portal attack, to attack through on the worm, and did like, I don't know, 30 or 40 damage. It actually gets the how do you want to do this, and basically like smashes its skull. Any other cool things from combat that I missed?
Not really. Just that same disgusting, like distended stomach breath weapon we were talking about. Not only does a ton of damage, but if you like fail the save, you also like get pulled into it, like it's going to like consume you. So there's a couple close calls with that, but nothing too bad.
And then Laudna had a really cool attack on the stomach too, that like made it like turn black or something. It was just a cool RP of the attack.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they kill the creature, and they're kind of like, okay, let's kind of look around, see what's in this cavern. It's very much like a beast den, and that there's a bunch of like random things all scattered throughout it. They do find like some weapons and items that have been destroyed through combat, Chetney actually goes farther down the right cave to find like the end of it, and it's just like a hole that he can hear the ocean like passing underneath it.
Yeah.
But they do find this one item. Well, they find a couple of things. There is a very special type of metal in this cavern that I think it's Orm does a history check and discovers that this is called woe steel. Woe steel that was basically created when Dominus was destroyed during the cataclysm or the calamity, excuse me. Gets destroyed and turns into the Shattered Teeth. Woe steel is like a result of that, and it has some special properties. I think it's it's non-magical, but it adds +1 to attacks. And then I think if it took lightning damage, it had like a chance to break or something.
It's like weak to lightning.
Yeah. And then they also find this charm, like necklace that is made of woe steel, and I think it was called a Raito necklace or amulet.
Yeah.
And they're basically like, well, let's figure out what this is, but first let's get out of this cave first. So they double back, they go through the left passage that opens up into that jungle area. Chetney does, actually, I think F.C.G does identify on it, and they find out that this item is like more of like personal significance, and that it's actually, it can't be attuned to by them. But also there's like this detail that these Raito charms are like very special symbolic items of the Ascended Host, like the faction that manages and protects Kalutha, the island that they're on. Chetney does Grim Psychometry to do a history check on the item and basically sees the wearer of it from at some point time ago, like leading a hunting party and like venturing into the cave and essentially being killed by the worm that they just themselves fought and killed. All that to say, they continue into this section that they've come out of the cave with, ideally to head eventually to make their way to Avant Trevere, the Tree of Atrophy. So, and that is where the episode ends, episode 73, with a wild and crazy recap. Kindling the spirits. So don't forget, if you want to watch our full thoughts and ideas about this episode, you can click the link to get our full discussion. And also don't forget that we want to know your thoughts and theories about the episode. So please don't be a stranger. You can feel free to check out that whole video as well. So anyhow.
Pop.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, it wasn't very much like, was supposed to bring the tickets or the sandwiches?
I'm surprised that's the first time it's like really happened in
right.
however many episodes we've done now. I think we soldiered through, so appreciate y'all for bearing with us. But yeah, I was trying to think if and I didn't like refresh myself, so I don't remember, but I was trying to think if there was anything from last episode that I like really wanted to talk to you about, and I'm completely drawing a blank right now. So that's kind of circling in the back of my mind. Yeah. So I don't know if you remembered anything that you wanted to talk about, but I was thinking like we could knock that out first, but then my mind went blank. So
no, yeah, I mean, I think it was part of the reason why it felt okay to have Jeremy sub in was there wasn't a lot to discuss.
Yeah,
like
there wasn't.
These two episodes are really great examples of just like fun D&D.
Yeah,
like just people having fun playing D&D, but like in the grand scheme of things, it's
just some travel episodes, really.
Really, yeah. It's pretty much what it is, honestly. I think it's interesting from this episode and partly last episode that they gave Graztachar to the captain. This is like, is this not like the most powerful item they found at this point? And I mean, it's out of their hands now.
Arguably, yeah. I guess even though Chetney wasn't really treating it as such, they did know that it was evil. So I think that had, if not a meta level of influence, some level of influence on like not caring that much that they're bargaining it, and in character, Fern, I think to some level probably wanted to get that out of his hand, or not Fern, Laudna, because she was the one that made the deal. Right. But yeah, I
mean, yes, Laudna's the one that made the deal, but Laudna was really struggling. Like the combat was, I guess we didn't get a chance to talk about it. Combat was getting a little hectic. They were fighting the crew that kept reviving, and it was looking pretty desperate. Laudna was rolling really poorly, also for her persuasion checks.
Right.
So I think it's like in case of emergency break glass kind of situation. So
Yeah.
not to disagree with you that she wasn't trying to get rid of it, but I took it more of like, here,
Needed to
take
do
this.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, something needs to happen here.
Yeah, I definitely think
which
it was
maybe-
of like an in the moment, not like a forethought of like we need to get rid
Right.
of this in this moment. And I mistakenly said Fern. Funny enough, she was trying to get it back, which
Right.
I presume for Chetney, more so than just like getting it back in general.
Mhm.
I ship them. I think I'm fully on board. Like them to actually have like beyond just the joke of it,
Mhm.
a Chetney Fern romance. So I don't know where you're at with it, but my head canon is that she was trying to get that back, for the guy she thinks is quite
I mean,
keen.
they were the OG from what we saw, but I mean, I don't know if I feel right about shipping them with, Deanna in the picture.
Yeah, that is true. We do have Deanna.
I can't do a Bria like that.
That's yeah, but I mean, no disrespect to Abria, but I think I'm more Chet Fern than I am Chet
Hey,
Deanna.
we all have ships that are unpopular. Like I would ship Ashton and Laudna. They got some great chemistry.
I'm here for Imadna, but I wouldn't have been mad at
Yeah,
Ashton
sure.
Laudna.
Yeah, we start like naming off pairs that
like
FCG
3
and
hours
Chetney,
later.
like yeah, and I'm like, yeah, we're just going through like every possible combination. All right, how about this one?
And so in this chapter of my fanfic,
Yeah.
but I forgot where I was even coming from. But the weapon thing. I don't know. I didn't know if you had like a further thing you were going to with that.
It's just more evidence to me that that jokingly they're the baddies. It's like, here's this really important weapon. Like, this dude seems kind of evil. Like, hey, here you go.
But he also seems kind of like,
Up
what's
the
he
wall.
really going to be able to do? Like, we know he's landlocked isn't the right word. The opposite of that, sea locked.
Yeah.
And two, I kind of under the impression that he's like contained to around the shattered teeth, which may or may not be true.
I
But it
think
at
he's
least seems that way.
Well, we don't know if he's cursed. We know that
Well, he's
he has
definitely cursed.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we do know he's cursed. we don't know if the curse restricts him to this area.
Right.
But either he has to stay here or he has chosen to stay here because he's searching for
To get his items. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. And it
That's
could
a
be
good
once he
point.
gets his items, it's like what did he want to do? Didn't he want like get revenge or something once he had his items or something? Or
He was very like, he wouldn't let loose with the details. Like,
Chenny even said like, hey, if you tell us like we could maybe like look for these things for you.
yeah. And I don't think we mentioned it in the recap, but the captain did give him a list of some of the things to keep an eye out for. Not all of them. But yeah, I'm curious, like if he finds all the items, is the curse lifted and they die, or is like the curse lifted and now they can go on land and do whatever they want?
Oh.
I'm curious. I mean, you wouldn't. I don't know. It's probably not worth diving too far into because I don't know if we'll really see this explored much further than we already have. But
You're still giggling about my line of we know they're not cursed. Like they are pretty
they're
clearly
definitely not cursed.
So,
but yeah, I mean, all of those contingencies in the air. If he's constrained or not, certainly the pieces are in place for like a really cool in the background of the world storyline kind of to unfold, like something that we may never see on screen, but like may only get a piece of as a lore drop in like campaign 4 of like, oh, Dread Pirate Novos with Grassachar like took over the entire eastern seaboard type. I don't know what I'm saying, but it's a cool puzzle pieces for Matt to play with in the background, I think. But the fact that he gave Chetney some of the items on the list, I wouldn't say it's impossible that we might see them again before Shattered Teeth is finished. But even if we do, I don't think we'll like get the entire through line on like the captain's story.
right.
But yeah, I just in general, this whole like like we just mentioned, that fight was really tough. Like going from F.C.G, I think, going down 2 or 3 times in that combat, like things getting pretty bad. They constantly resurrect to like dance party. Just a very
I can't
like
believe Fern almost considered not getting FCG up in that previous episode. It was like, oh, do I want to? And I'm like,
did I see
yes.
him?
FCG already had a death saving fail or a death fail. And I was like, a natural one and he's dead. So
True.
we ain't got time for that plot line.
And resurrection magic doesn't work still, seemingly. Probably.
Right.
Guess we haven't had to try it, but yeah, I just thought it was a hilarious, like just classic D&D to go from, mortal enemies to dance party with the crew, the next day. And of course,
like we're
go
on a
ahead.
bender. Like it was just so funny. Like I'm just thinking like the thinking of that of like, let's get tattoos and like,
Yeah.
and then also, yeah, like we're going to throw a big dance party. Like it was just very like, just goofy shenanigans. Not in a bad way. Just,
Yeah.
what are we going to do? Sure.
100%. And they even got the drugged out all minds burn brownies thrown into the mix, which interestingly enough, nothing really happened with that.
Right.
But I think I hope, and I think they still have some. I don't think they like used all of that. Because I am curious, like what might come of that, or if any of them will ever try any of it. Right. But I'd be remiss. We talked a lot about it in the recap, but I'd be remiss if we didn't at least briefly mention the whole Fern romancing the captain. Like only Fern, the I don't know who's the bigger chaos demon, her or Chet, but it's probably her. Amazing. Ashley Johnson just never ceases to amaze me with her D&D plays. But I thought that whole thing was incredible. I'm very curious about what the warmth trade-off was. I got some thoughts on that. So maybe tackle that specifically in a second, but just, getting with the captain and then able to like dodge the heat from Cerelia and in fact, just like swoop it around and set her up for happiness, hopefully.
Yeah. That's why I say it's like a perfect D&D, like shenanigans episode. Cause it's like, yeah, I'm just going to play full on matchmaker here.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk about the giving of the warmth, because this was a really cool detail or setup from Matt. We know Fern has permanently lost some hit points, which Matt clarified in the back half of the episode that it's permanent. Then, like you mentioned in the recap, Fern got a whisper as to what else was entailed in this. So what's your thought and theory on this?
I mean, given that they're like basically revenants or at least close to it in terms of like mechanically, for me, I'm wondering if it's like a colorization or a fun kind of twist on like the revenant itself, meaning like, and Matt could have done anything he wanted to with it, but I could see it maybe being something like she obviously has some sort of mechanical advantage in some field that Matt has just crafted. And or like maybe if she dies or something, she could come back as like a revenant herself, like a member of the crew type of thing. I don't know. What did you take about it?
I don't know. I was thinking like she has like a pocket Pokemon now of like summoning one of them like to help with like a fight or something.
That'd be cool.
But I guess we'll find out. But the whole mechanic of like giving your warmth and like losing hit points was pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. And the fact that he offered, like the captain, not Matt, but offered to like, will you share some more, really made me wonder like, okay, if it is the whatever the boon was, like, would there have been another boon if she did it again? And maybe it's not even a boon for all I know. Like maybe it's just another bad thing that's secret. But yeah, I'm really curious. And it's another, wrench thrown into the absolute chaos and craziness that is Fern with like, what if it is something about like her becoming a revenant herself or something like that. Then there's the weird vision we got that time when what was it, when she died or when she went unconscious, and there was the vision of like the afterlife, the things in like the shadows were like watching her, and then there's the dark Fern from EXU. There's just so many like weird things in her cauldron. Yeah.
The champion of Asmodeus too, that she
made
like tentative deal with.
Fern's gonna die, and there's gonna be like 8 different entities that are like, wait, her soul's
You're
mine.
good too? Yeah. Yeah, she's definitely an agent of chaos for sure. So
yeah, loved every bit of that. I'm curious to see, like we mentioned, since Chet did get some of the items, if that'll be explored at all. There's a whole conversation of like the pressing issue of the solstice, and like that Matt kind of took the foot off the pedal with the standstill that he described between the Rylorans and Exandria. So there's not like a super doomsday clock. I mean, there is, but anyway, all that to say is that I still don't see like too much of just, well, like, what should we do now? Like they're on a schedule. But I'm curious to see if what they might get into, especially once they meet some members of the Ascended Host, which I imagine they're obviously going to, because those are the enemies of the pirates. So like,
right.
Are they going to hide that fact? Are they going to like say it not knowing, like maybe they forgot that they were like enemies and they'll just say it like, yeah, we came with the crew, or well, I guess the crew told them not to tell anybody, so maybe they wouldn't be saying that. But yeah, I know I'm just kind of rambling.
Burn maybe be marked in some way.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know, but it's interesting. I think there's really just not enough time to go like a side quest for. I mean, the only way they would maybe pursue those items would be if there was some link to like a primordial power that they could then utilize against lewdness. The other thing that's interesting though, so it's been 3 or 4 days, maybe 4 days now, since they arrived in the Shattered Teeth. They had gone to Bosseros for, I don't know if that was a day or not. Wasn't the vest, didn't they say it'd be like 3 weeks to fix it or something like that?
I think that was like the first estimate, but then like that was before Dancer said she would help, and I think with like all the different things they were doing, they were getting it down to like a week or 2.
Yeah. Okay. Well then, yeah. Okay. I was wondering if like would they have to like fill time or something, but it doesn't sound like it. So.
But I don't remember exactly though, so I might be mistaken. But I seem to recall some conversation like that of like, well, if Dancer helps me and if this, that, and the other, then we could get it down. Yeah, but yeah, that isn't. Maybe that is like kind of the time frame they're sort of working on though.
But presumably the next episode, they're going to meet the Ascended Host, maybe check out Yvonne Trevere. Depending, I mean, it could be this group like deeply protects Yvonne Trevere, and they'll want them to do something like. Yeah. Hey, there's a cursed ship that we need you to go take care of. So,
well, they at least have some woe steel to offer,
right?
Which maybe that'll help them get in the good graces. But yeah, I'm interested to see. I mean, presumably it's as straight a line as possible to Yvonne Trevere, and then they're teleporting out. Is that the plan? I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, Keyleth's not going to come get them, right? That doesn't.
No, they have the staff that that F.C.G is attuned to. So,
okay.
So yeah. What else? There's very little. I'm surprised. I'm like, what else is there to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, it really was just, for the most part, a travel episode again.
We talked about combat. We talked about the ship. We talked about what's next.
The very beginning of the episode with the scry on Bo and Caleb. I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but I figured I would throw this 2 cents in, which I'm sure a lot of people that watched C2 thought this as well. But the reason the scry didn't work is probably because of items that they have and not because of the solstice. Which I won't get into any spoilers, but there are items that can block scrying, and we at least knew them to have had those at one point. So just in case anybody was curious, or if they thought that was like really bad that the scry didn't work, it might not mean anything. It might just be because of those items.
I thought maybe Matt blocked it to protect the live show coming up in the sense of like
100%. That was also part of it, but it just worked out that like canon they also had those items. But I totally think that like even if they didn't, I think Matt would have said the same thing. Because he doesn't know, he didn't want to put himself in a box, with whatever's coming for the live show, which I'm very excited about. But let me just scroll on through the rest of my notes here. I actually haven't. I'm surprised I haven't, but I haven't seen any like fan art of the tattoo, which I want to see some.
I think that's pretty much it for me. This might be like our shortest episode.
I
guess strong, not long,
That's right. Not really much to say on it, but I really am loving that grim psychometry, however you say it.
Did he just get that, by the way? Or
he must have gotten it like quasi recently, because he's only recently started to use it. But maybe it's one of those things that he just like never thought to use. But I would imagine maybe it's something he got.
Yeah, he started using it in the Gray Valley or Gale Valley or Gray Valley.
Gray Valley, I think, yeah.
And has used it almost every episode now.
Yeah.
So it's a cool little detail.
Yeah, really cool, like lore spell, essentially, I guess. I'm curious, like, and that totally could have just been like a flavor lore moment, but I'm wondering like what that Raito charm was. Like, I wonder if it'll be significant, or was it just flavor,
I think it's part flavor in the sense of like Matt specifically mentioned, like you cannot attune to it. Like it only works for like a specific person.
Yeah.
So it seems like a very important like heirloom, like cultural item that, like you said earlier, maybe it ends up being a gift to the ascended host.
Yeah, maybe that's like a way for them to, if they remember to like use it, like get into their good graces immediately. Like, hey, we found this and we also killed the monster that, obviously killed a bunch of your people, type of thing.
Right.
So yeah, sorry, my notes are super scattered, but I mean, like we said, there's really not too much to dig into here. So I think we've covered most of what I wanted to.
I guess let us know what else you guys thought about the episode. We got a little bit under a week till the next episode comes out. And don't forget, we have a Discord where you can do the watch party with us and chat about the episode as well. But I guess with that,
yeah, I guess that's it. And yeah, Discord, and not just for Critical Role, not just for watch parties, but just come hang out, talk about anything. You can talk about whatever there. We've got channels for a lot of stuff. But yeah, Calamity Watch Party episode 2 this Sunday, 7:30 p.m. Central Time, American Time. And then Fantasy High Watch parties starting soon. And again, those are going to be less structured. It won't be like a every Sunday type of thing, just because there's so many and only a couple months to watch them. It'll be just hey, we're going to watch episodes 7 and 8 right now, so whoever wants to join can join. So if you're interested in that, join the Discord. Make sure you get the Fantasy High Discord role, and then you'll always be up to date with those messages. Yeah, that's all I got.
All right, squad. We appreciate you guys.
We'll get and special shout out again to Neil and everybody at Paladin Roleplaying. Thank you so much for the dice. Again, there's going to be a pinned comment down below with a link for you guys to check them out. Alrighty, y'all. Well, until next time.
See ya.